Good evening, America. What happens when a billionaire businessman takes over the most powerful office in the world and decides to actually use that power? Well, we're about to find out. Sources inside the White House tell us President Trump is preparing to sign a series of executive orders that will fundamentally reshape the federal government. The deep state's in panic mode. And meanwhile, Trump visited the DOJ today. Why? Well, we're going to find out because we have the clips. But the timing is interesting, isn't it? The JFK files, the Epstein documents. What exactly is the president looking for? And why are the career bureaucrats suddenly updating their resumes? Well, this is just the beginning. The real question is who's next on Trump's list? As we step into 2025, one thing is clear: de-dollarization is accelerating. China and other BRICS nations are scared of President Trump, making them more determined to reduce their dependence on the U.S. dollar. Their secret weapon is gold. In fact, China resumed buying gold and they underreport their purchases. Doesn't that make you wonder why? They recognize gold's global value and ability to withstand economic shocks. Well, gold is tangible, reliable, and it's immune to economic manipulation. And these countries, they want to be prepared, they just don't want it known. But this isn't just about nations, it's about you. In a world of shifting economic power, gold is your personal hedge against uncertainty, and Noble Gold Investments can help you secure your financial future. So visit nextnewsgold.com or call that number on the screen, 877-646-5347. And with a qualified account, receive 10 1-ounce silver American Eagle coins. Make sure you tell them that Gary Franchi at Next News sent you. Okay, let's get into the topic here. Tom McCullough on the scene in Washington, D.C., right in front of the White House. Let's take a look.
McCullough reporting directly from the White House with the Next News Network. And folks, buckle up again. Today's another giant day. President Trump is back in the saddle, and we've got action straight coming out of the Oval Office. Later today at noon, he's signing executive orders. What's in them? We're not 100% sure yet. The White House is keeping it close to the chest, and you better believe we're all waiting to find out. Are these about the border, jobs, or maybe something bigger? We'll dig into that as soon as we get the details. Now, here's where it gets juicy. At 3 o'clock, Trump's heading over to the Department of Justice to give some remarks. And that's right, the DOJ, the very place folks have been whispering about for weeks. And why is that? Because we've got the looming specter of the JFK files, the Epstein list, and the Martin Luther King files hanging over us like a storm cloud. People want answers, and they want them right now. Remember back on January 23rd when Trump signed that executive order? He put a deadline on releasing those files, which is 45 days. And do the math, folks. Accounting for federal holidays, it's only been 36 working days since then. The clock is still ticking. The deadline's close, and despite all the whining that nothing's out yet, we're still in the window of review. I'm anxious also, but let's be real here. The doubters and the naysayers, they've been screaming, where are the files? Trump's bluffing. Well, let's hold your horses. The government doesn't move fast. It never has. It never will. They're reviewing. They're redacting. Hopefully not too much. They're stalling, the same old song and dance. But with Trump showing up the DOJ today, you've got to wonder, is this the moment? Are we finally going to see the truth about JFK, RFK, MLK, and that creepy Epstein mess? A lot of you out there and I mean a lot, are waiting for it. That's all the comments we have. You've been tired of the cover-ups, the lies, and the excuses, and I know I am. I know Gary is. We're all itching for this. Let's back up here for a second. That executive order Trump signed in January, it wasn't just hot air. It said the JFK files get a plan within 15 days and the MLK and RFK stuff within 45 days. The Epstein documents, some of those have already trickled out, hundreds of pages, flight logs, names, but it's not enough. People want the full picture. And when Trump walks into that DOJ building today with Attorney General Pam Bondi by his side, you can bet eyes will be glued to every word he says. Will he drop a bombshell? Will he call out the deep state? Or will it be more of that wait and see game we've all gotten used to? Hopefully not too much of that. And here's what I think. The establishment doesn't want you to know what's in those files. They've had decades to bury the truth. JFK's assassination, MLK's murder, Epstein's little black book. They built a fortress around it. But Trump, he's got a sledgehammer, and he's not afraid to swing. I think he's got a bigger sledgehammer. If he delivers today, if he even hints at cracking those vaults open, it's going to send shockwaves. The elites will squirm, the media will spin, and the people, well, you'll finally get a taste of what they've been hiding. And we want that so bad. Now, there's more on the plate today. After the DOJ, Trump's jetting off to Florida, to Mar-a-Lago, of course, around 5 o'clock. The man doesn't sit still, does he? He's signing orders, making speeches, and hopping states all in one day. And that's your president, folks. Full speed ahead. But for the real story, here's what happens before he leaves. Those executive orders at noon, they could be anything. Maybe he's doubling down on immigration. Maybe he's slashing some bloated government program. Maybe, just maybe, hopefully, he's setting the stage those files releases we've all been promised. I'm not here to sugarcoat it. The critics are loud. They say Trump's all talk and the files will stay locked up forever. The point to the Epstein flop last month, those binders handed to influencers with nothing new in them, fair point. But today, I'm hoping it feels different, that something is going to change. With the deadline closing in, with Trump stepping right into the DOJ's turf, this could be the turning point. And if it's not, well, we'll be right here calling it out because we want that just as much as every single one of you. So what's the takeaway? Stay tuned, folks. Noon for the executive orders, 3 p.m. for the DOJ remarks, and mark your calendars. We're on the edge of something big, or at least we hope we are. The truth about JFK, Epstein, MLK, it's dangling right in front of us. Will Trump pull the curtain back is what we want to know. And I don't know about you. I'm not holding my breath for the government to do the right thing on its own. It's going to take a fighter like Trump to make it happen. And again, this is Thomas McCullough. I'm reporting live from the White House today for the Next News Network. And again, if you like this, please share it. Please spread the word. Subscribe to Next News Network. We're here to keep you in the loop. No fluff, no nonsense. Until next time, you guys keep your eyes open. And we're going to be here holding everybody accountable, just like the fair and free media should be doing. God bless.
Well done, Tom McCullough. And then there's this heartfelt moment in the White House today. Tom actually got to ask Vivian Sleeth a question. She was the star press secretary today. She's been battling brain cancer since the age of 7. She's now 10 years old. Tom actually got to ask her a question.
What's your favorite movie? If you were the president for one day, what would you do?
Give kids $1 million Robux, no, V-Bucks, yeah. And then adults a coupon to a spa for an hour.
I support that.
And then $1,000 to homeless people.
Oh. Vivian, what's your puppy's name?
Omega.
Oh, you're doing really good, girl. You're good with answers. Do you like TV shows or movies better?
Movies, but I wish they were longer.
What's your favorite movie?
I have a follow-up. If you could have any animal as a pet, what would you have? Any animal ever.
Mother Nature.
Mother Nature. All the animals. That sounds lovely. That sounds great.
Yep, it's not all hard politics there in the White House. There are some heartfelt moments, and we have more, though. This is from DOD. What's going on over there? We're going to check in on the press conference that's happening right now with the president in just a moment.
Secretary Hegg, welcome to the third installment of the Department of Defense's weekly situation report, or SITREP. This week, the Department of Defense wasted no time getting our military back to its core mission. Secretary Hegseth ordered a department-wide review of existing standards set by U.S. military branches pertaining to physical fitness, body composition, and grooming. Our troops will look sharp, not sloppy, and the DOD will see quality, not quotas. The Pentagon also announced that we're eliminating woke climate change programs and initiatives inconsistent with our core warfighting mission. Ukraine aid and intelligence sharing was reactivated in response to Zelensky's acceptance of a 30-day ceasefire. The president and the Secretary of Defense have been very, very clear. The U.S. wants to see peace in Ukraine. The killing must stop. Army Chief of Staff General George ordered a review of all general officer memorandums of reprimands that were issued to soldiers who refused to comply with the previous administration's COVID vaccine mandate. And last, Secretary Hegseth made OPM's 5 bullet points email assignment a weekly task for Pentagon civilians. Woke is out at the Department of Defense, and accountability and standards are in. Thank you for watching, America. God bless you all, and God bless this great country that we call home. Take care.
Right on, man. America is back. We've also got this. Here is J.D. Vance reflecting on some protesters this afternoon.
Protesters. We've got this great event, this great facility, great business, and of course, great workers. And I'm sure all of us saw there were a few protesters outside. And I can't be the only person wondering, it's a little after noon on a Friday, and don't you all have jobs? Who are the people?
Well, what's funny about what he's saying there, don't you have jobs? Yes, they have jobs. They've been hired to protest. Okay, it's AstroTurf. So they're actually at work. Let's see if he brings that up.
And I think that's one of the reasons why we've got to rebuild American manufacturing and support great companies like Vantage Plastics, because we want those people to get off the streets and back to work. It'd be good for them, and it'd be good for everybody else, too. We've got
J.D. Vance is awesome, man. He's going to make a great president someday. And here we have Dinesh D'Souza weighing in on the threats that Donald Trump made to the Maine governor. Let's listen.
The Trump administration has stopped funding to the entire University of Maine system, all the campuses. Why? Because the state, led by the governor, you remember the little showdown with the governor and Trump.
Is Maine here, the governor of Maine? You better do it, because you're not going to get any federal funding at all if you don't.
See you in court.
Every state, good, I'll see you in court. I look forward to that. That should be a real easy one.
They refused to comply with the executive order to keep transgender athletes out of women's sports. And so, boom. Now, this is again where Trump does what he says. There are a lot of Republicans who raise issues and warnings, and then they don't do anything. And we are so used to this kind of lack of follow-up, lack of action, that we're a little surprised when Trump follows through. Trump remembers she has no intention of following the executive order, which, by the way, has the force of law, or at least the force of executive action. And so it's time to cut off the funding, and so it is. The Trump administration has stopped.
And that's what he's doing. What else have we got here? Secretary Wright on the proposed natural gas pipelines in New York.
Win-win. Oh, I think it's highly likely that this pipeline, there's a couple of them actually get done. It's just such a win-win-win. This will lower costs for people in the New York area, for New England, not just heating costs, which is a big deal. Old houses are heated by fuel oil. Natural gas is just so much cheaper, and it burns cleaner. But it also lower electricity prices, which, of course, everyone would cheer for that as well, and allow businesses in New England or in New York City area to expand and grow their businesses and grow more jobs. So it's like no one loses by this. But silly politics of several years ago stopped these in the first go-round. But I think it's quite likely these pipelines will be under construction before this year's over.
And that's something. That's what we need to get all the prices done, by lowering the cost of energy. Here we have Laura Ingraham speaking with the vice president.
As a shield, Poland today has asked, the Polish president has asked for the United States to consider deploying nuclear weapons in Poland as a shield against future Russian aggression. This as President Trump meeting, of course, today with the NATO leader.
Sure.
What might happen on that front? Wouldn't that provoke Russia away from any deal with Ukraine?
So I haven't talked to the president about that particular issue, but I would be shocked if he was supportive of nuclear weapons extending further east into Europe. We have got to be careful, Laura. We are playing literally with the lives of the future of human civilization. This is one of the most important reasons why President Trump sees himself and, in fact, is a peace president. You have people like Joe Biden sleepily walking us into a nuclear conflict. Donald Trump is taking us in a totally different approach, and we need it. We need cooler heads to prevail. Yep. And on this Russia-Ukraine thing, Laura, I mean, look, the Biden administration strategy was literally to shovel weapons at the Ukrainians, allow the Russians and the Ukrainians to bleed out, and hope that somehow a settlement appeared out of thin air. Donald Trump is engaging in tough diplomacy and enlisting his entire administration to find out, what do the Ukrainians want? What do they need? What do the Russians want? What do they need? Because the war is stupid. It would have never started if he had been president, and it continuing is not in the interest of anybody.
Amen. Yeah, let's get it over with. Let's get peace back on the table here. What do we have here? President Trump has gotten Rosie O'Donnell to self-deport. What?
President Trump has gotten Rosie O'Donnell to self-deport from the United States of America. You know, it wasn't explicitly one of our campaign promises, but it is a major first 100-day achievement, Sean. So you are welcome, America. Thanks to President Trump, Rosie O'Donnell has self-deported. You don't have to worry about that problem anymore.
Yeah, baby. Rosie O'Donnell is self-deported. That's so nice. And then here we have our press secretary talking about what is going on in the Middle East.
Have been working with our special envoy, Steve Witkoff, our national security advisor, Mike Waltz, Secretary of State Rubio, and the president himself have been working diligently to end this conflict in the Middle East and to ensure that all of the hostages can return home. I was in the Oval Office a couple of weeks ago with the president when he met with 8 recently released hostages, and they said to the president, every single one of them, they would not be alive if not for President Trump. So this administration will continue to work hard to release all of the hostages. President Trump is determined to do that.
Yeah, or there's going to be some serious hell to pay. What else have we got going on today? Big days in the White House. Vance, we're not going to foot the bill for the world anymore. Europe doesn't have the cards here.
A game of chicken tariffs on Europe. Europe came back to us and said, oh, no, we're gonna hit your whiskey. Trump then says, we're going to up you. It's like a game of chicken here, trade chicken. 200% on champagnes and wines to France. Now, that will destroy the French winemaking business, but they've been really tough on our winemaking industry for years.
Well, that's exactly the point. Look, Europe doesn't have the cards here. As President Trump likes to say, when you have actually penalized American companies and American workers, as the EU has for years, we're actually fighting back for the first time. But Laura, we have a $1 trillion trade deficit. We absorb
largest
all
ever
of the terrible economic policies from all over the world, and the world expects American consumers to foot the bill for their workers and their businesses, and Donald Trump is flipping that on its head. We are not going to do this anymore. We cannot run an economy where Americans borrow, go into debt to buy things that other people make for us. We're going to make it in America. We have to.
Tariffs on
J.D.
Europe.
Vance
Europe came
on
back
point right there. Man, he is on fire today. What else have we got here? We've got NATO Chief Mark Rutte. He was just here confirming Ukraine will not be joining NATO. And that was one of the reasons that Putin started the war.
He's already taken off Ukraine joining NATO off the table. Mm-hmm. So Ukraine is left asking this question, how are we going to know we're going to have proper security?
Yeah, but he was also very clear, Pete Hegseth in Brussels, but also the president himself, that when there is a deal on Ukraine, it has to be lasting. It has to be durable. Putin should not have to try this again. So the question is then the how. How do you do this? Post a peace deal. Then I would side with the president. You first need to have a peace deal before you can get into these details. Obviously, behind the screens, there will be discussions on the what if there is a peace deal, how then to maintain that. But there are many ways to do that.
Yeah, we do not need to be in, NATO does not need to be in Ukraine. Here we have, this is a clip from Tim Pool, Timcast, talking about the net reduction of federal authority is happening before our eyes.
And now, let me simplify it for you. You beaten, battered, and spat over the people of this country. And Donald Trump is coming in, and he's gutting the bureaucratic state, and he's shutting down your corrupt institutions. And now y'all are crying to me, saying, please, please be a man of principle. I'm a man of principle. And my principles will be restored after this administrative wartime is over. Abraham Lincoln is the most popular president in American history. That's a fact. Look up all the polls. I don't know why. Maybe it's because people just know the name. It's top of mind more than anybody else. Winning the Civil War was significant, solidified this nation. Abraham Lincoln suspended habeas corpus and arrested people without charge or trial. Abraham Lincoln did a lot of things that people saw as tyrannical.
Yeah.
I'm going to say it like this. I do not believe it is true that Trump has done anything worthy of impeachment. That's silly. He's not committed any crimes. That's stupid. Y'all are making it up. But of the things that presidents do that I kind of don't like, I'm not going to sit here and nitpick over Donald Trump using continuing resolutions or things like that when y'all did 10 times worse. I'm not going to give you an inch to take from us and beat us over the head with. I am going to say to Donald Trump, do your thing. Make it so that these people can never wield this power against us. And while Donald Trump is gutting the deep state and the bureaucratic state, he's diminishing federal authority and power. So when you come to me and say, but Trump is doing these things where he's putting a billionaire in charge, he's making himself more powerful, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, yeah, look, dude, the end result of what Trump is doing is a curtailing of executive authority and the ability for the federal government to overreach. So you can argue that in sectors A, G, and F, Trump has increased power. And then I'm going to look across the board and be like, yeah, but he sure did dismantle literally every other sector. Meaning the net reduction of federal authority is happening right before our eyes, and you are not going to convince me that Donald Trump should be stopped when y'all did exactly the same thing but times 10 and worse. And Joe Biden literally broke the law and never got prosecuted. Spare me.
What a great point. Let's take a look and see what's going on over at the Department of Justice right now. Lots happening, and the president talking about the Democrats and the media.
Immediately. For years, Democrats and the media kept saying that we needed new legislation. We had to have new legislation. We needed it immediately. And I never had legislation. I had the best border in the history of our country for almost 4 years. And by the time I got out, we had the lowest numbers ever. My favorite chart of all time was brought down that day. And on that chart said we had the lowest numbers ever. But it turned out that we really didn't need new legislation. All you needed was a new president. For years.
And the new president's what we got. And here President Trump gives a shout out to Angel Mom Tammy Nobles, whose 20-year-old daughter, Kyla Hamilton, was viciously murdered.
Strangled to death. We're joined today by Tammy Nobles, whose 20-year-old daughter, Kayla, was attacked in her home 3 years ago, horrifically assaulted and strangled to death by an illegal alien MS-13 monster set loose into our country under the open border Biden regime. Kayla was one of countless American victims ripped away from their families by the open border policies of that administration. And we're also joined by Kayla's stepfather, Jeremiah, and several other courageous angel families here today. And I'd love you to all just stand up and take a bow because you are incredible people. Please. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. But I want you to know that we are working every day to expel these savages from our country and ensure that what happened to your loved ones will never happen again. So their legacy is going to be a great one. Thank you all very much. Appreciate it.
Wow. We've got some more from the DOJ. Here is, he's talking about crime rates now.
By 14% under the Biden regime, average monthly homicides increased by 14%. Property crime rose tremendously. Violent crime went up at least 37% that they know of. Rape soared by 42%. Car thefts rose by 48%. And robberies surged to 63 to 100%. They don't even know what the number is. And I have no higher mission as President of the United States than to end this killing and stop this law breaking and to making America safe again. And that's what you're all about in this room. We want to protect Americans, and we protect everybody that's in our country, American or not American. We want to have a safe and proud country. We're under the Biden regime.
And we've got more from the president on restoring law and order. This was just 22 minutes ago.
Restoring public safety, and everything we do, we're restoring law, restoring order, and restoring public safety in America. That's what we want to do. And we're bringing honor and integrity and accountability back to the highest levels of the FBI, DOJ, and throughout our government. We're bringing our country back faster than anyone ever thought possible. We're working so hard at doing it, and we want fairness in the courts. The courts are a big factor. The elections, which were totally rigged, are a big factor. We have to have honest elections. We have to have borders, and we have to have courts and law that's fair. And everything we do.
We've got more from the DOJ. I was hoping he would be talking more about the release of these files, but of course we are still in the review window. Here he's talking about who he's joined with in the room at the DOJ.
The president, who we're joined today by dozens of police officers, sheriffs and sheriff's deputies from all across the country. My message to these law enforcement heroes is simple. With me in the White House, you once again have a president who will always have your back, will always have your back. Thank you, folks. Thank you. That's a
lot of people in that room there. That applause is loud. Here we have more. Oh, this is good. This is good about banning government censorship.
That's why on day one, I signed an executive order banning all government censorship and directing the removal of every bureaucrat who conspired to attack free speech and many other things and values in America. My administration stripped the security clearances of the disgraced intelligence agents who lied about Hunter Biden's laptop from hell. We revoked the clearances of deranged Jack Smith, Alvin Bragg, Letitia James, and the crooked law firms that aided their partisan persecutions. And I went through it. These are state and city courts, and the corruption is unbelievable. We also terminated the clearances of the Biden crime family and Joe Biden himself. He didn't deserve it. In fact, he was essentially found guilty, but they said he was incompetent, and therefore let's not find him guilty, I guess. Nobody knows what that ruling was, but I didn't want any part of it. I think I would have rather been found guilty than what they found with him. They said he didn't know what the hell he was doing, and therefore he's let him go. I said, you know, I'd rather be convicted, Pam, I think, than that. That was not, I said, please convict me, don't say that. I pardoned hundreds of political prisoners who had been grossly mistreated. We removed the senior FBI officials who misdirected resources to send SWAT teams after grandmothers and J6 hostages. And it was a great honor for me to fire, I will tell you this, a great honor to fire James Comey. A great, great honor. That was nothing. There was no better day. A lot of people said, oh, that's too bad you did that. And they said that's going to be, and you know what? A year later, they said that actually saved the administration, because the level of corrupt things that we learned after that turned out to be that they were doing, in fact, really bad things. He was a terrible person, did terrible things and persecuted people, and all in the guise of being an angel, but he wasn't an angel. That's why.
Yeah, I remember when you were called a conspiracy theorist when you tried to speak out about that. Yeah, it turns out it was all true. Here we have more about, wow. Listen to this. Right inside the DOJ, he says we must be honest about the lies and abuses that have occurred within these walls. Wow.
Generations. But first, we must be honest about the lies and abuses that have occurred within these walls. Unfortunately, in recent years, a corrupt group of hacks and radicals within the ranks of the American government obliterated the trust and goodwill built up over generations. They weaponized the vast powers of our intelligence and law enforcement agencies to try and thwart the will of the American people. You remember the 51 intelligence agents that said, as an example, that Hunter Biden's laptop from hell came from Russia, when they knew it came right from his bedroom. They knew that. It was a big lie, and they knew it so well. They spied on my campaign, launched one hoax and disinformation operation after another, broke the law on a colossal scale, persecuted my family, staff, and supporters, raided my home, Mar-a-Lago, and did everything within their power to prevent me from becoming the president of the United States. With the help of radicals like Mark Elias, Mark Pomerantz, and these are people that nobody's ever seen anything like it. So many others, but these are people that are bad people, really bad people. They tried to turn America into a corrupt, communist, and third world country. But in the end, the thugs failed and the truth won. Freedom won, justice won, democracy won, and above all, the American people won. There could be no more heinous betrayal of American values than to use the law to terrorize the innocent and reward the wicked. And that's what they were doing at a level that's never been seen before. And it's exactly what you saw with Joe Biden, Merrick Garland, and their cronies to do the building of the last 4 years. What they've ripped down is incalculable. But what you're going to build up is likewise something that will be breaking all sorts of records. But first,
oh man, this guy, President Trump, an absolute bulldog in the Department of Justice right now, naming names and just calling out the disgraceful behavior and actions of the weaponization of that department and declaring that a new day of justice is finally dawning. This is so beautiful, my friends. Holy cow. Oh, my goodness. Okay, we've got some more. Trump arrives at the same Department of Justice that was weaponized against him, and now his portrait hangs in the lobby like a boss. The man shows up to the place that tried to destroy him. Holy cow. There he is with Pambandi, looking at his portrait hanging above. What's he saying? What's he saying?
You're such a nice person. That's a rough picture. That's a rough picture.
We're waiting on JD's to go up.
That's good. That's good. Thank you.
You know what they should do? They should hang the mugshot up there. Yeah, that's what they should do. You know, he has the mugshot hanging outside the entrance to the Oval Office. Wow. That is absolutely epic. Here he is talking about the new chapter in the Chronicles of American Justice.
Long years as we begin a proud new chapter in the Chronicles of American Justice. This really is something. We're turning the page on 4 long years of corruption, weaponization, and surrender to violent criminals, and we're restoring fair, equal, and impartial justice under the constitutional rule of law. And you're the people that are doing it. Very, very proud of all of you. Under the Trump administration, the DOJ and the FBI will once again become the premier crime-fighting agencies on the face of the earth. People ask me, what am I going to do about law enforcement all the time? The fake news back there, they're asking me that all the time. What am I going to do? And when are you going to do it? And I answer them by saying I've already done most of it by appointing the people that I've appointed. They're sitting right here as we begin a proud new chapter.
He's already cleaning house. He's appointing new leadership and bringing in a new era of justice. And let's see, here is Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche talking about the president, what his promises are.
The president promised that under his watch, we will no longer stand by while universities tolerate and facilitate anti-Semitism and support of terrorism on their campuses. The department's recent actions, which hopefully you've seen at Columbia University in coordination with our law enforcement agency partners, are part of the administration's mission to end anti-Semitism in this country. Just last night, we worked with the Department of Homeland Security to execute search warrants from an investigation into Columbia University for harboring and concealing illegal aliens on its campus. That investigation is ongoing, and we are also looking at whether Columbia's handling of earlier incidents violated civil rights laws and included terrorism crimes. This is long overdue. Let me be clear. Hamas is a terrorist organization. It has the blood of American citizens on its hands, innocent victims, many of whom are citizens of this country, have died because of Hamas's actions. Any person engaging in material support of terrorism will be prosecuted. The president promised that under his watch,
a new day has dawned in Washington. So here we have President Trump, day 54, already launching a full-scale assault on the bureaucratic machine that's been strangling our country for decades. What we're witnessing is nothing short of revolutionary. While the media focuses on tweets and personality disputes, Trump is systematically dismantling the administrative state. Now, those upcoming executive orders, well, we're still waiting to find out exactly what he signed today at noon. But I'm sure they're not just policy changes, they're a complete paradigm shift in how Washington operates. And it's quite odd. Normally, we get a readout on what those executive orders are. We're going to have to wait and see. But his visit to the DOJ, absolutely amazing. Yes, he is just walking right in and setting the tone right inside those walls. So why are the career officials so nervous? Because they may be next on the chopping block. Now, I want to ask you this. If Trump is willing to take on the deep state this aggressively in just his first 2 months, what will America look like by the end of his term? Are we finally seeing the swamp drained? Drop a comment below and grab your Next News Network swag from our merch shop before they sell out. It's linked down below, shop.nextnewsnetwork.com. Grab a hat, grab a shirt, show the world you stand with real news.